First, I would like to apologize on behalf of Ferran. He is the project director, but he wasn't able to come. And so me and my colleague are here representing him. So who are we? We are a company from Valencia, MediXXI. We provide environmental solutions and also defense systems against fires. And we cover a wide scope of solutions. We have a pioneering system that for really a defense system against fires. And in 2012, we created a consortium of companies through which we're able to boost the project to extend it to a large part of Spain and Europe. And we were awarded a prize for good practices by the European Union for this project that I'm going to present. The wildland-urban interface is the contact of houses and vegetation, but not just that, but electrical grids, people, and the radiation power of fire. It's a very complex system that has to be addressed with complex solutions. The interface that we have in Valencia, it's quite similar to the one that you have here in Portugal. We have houses within forests. And we also have the accumulation of vegetation near houses. We have chimneys in contact with vegetation, houses in direct contact with trees, the accumulation of pine needles. And of course, when we have a fire, it's an emergency situation, of course, after emergency situation. And of course, the impact in the houses. We see this house before, just with a few, some plants around it. It seems like a clean infrastructure, but and the house seems resistant, but since there is contact with the vegetation, this is the after the fire. Vehicles are also affected, the presence of gas deposits. We also have deposits of firewood and other combustibles. And here we have people trying to protect their own houses. And we know that with a hose, such a small hose, it's impossible to protect a house, just with a garden hose. We have these meshes that are put on fences that end up working as a combustible. These trees here were as fences. They just promote the propagation of the fire. This is really the image that really reflects that there is a lack of self-protection. It's a man really trying, just with a shovel, trying to fight this enormous fire with a bit of dirt. We know that it's impossible. More houses affected. So we have a problem that is not just environmental. We have here several factors, of course, and within the environmental dimension, we have the forest management. Of course, that we also have the profitability of forest spaces. Then we have the economic dimension when it comes to damages regarding infrastructures, but it's also a social problem. People are not aware of the risk they run when they live in the forest. Also, in terms of legislation, people do not know the legislation. And finally, it's also a technical issue. We have to adapt what we already have, not necessarily research mode, but we have to adapt through research the infrastructures that we already have. So it's a complex problem with several factors: environmental, economic, social, technical. So the solution has to be complex. We need to really have a full, integrated and sustainable solution. And we have this system that is site info, really, that has to do with the initials of the System of Defense Against Forest Fires. And it really encompasses planning, silviculture, infrastructures, training and education. And we have designed a system against forest fires, and we have adapted to the different types of interface. We have a collective system for houses within large areas, forests, domestic for isolated houses, and also a mobile system for firefighters. And the concept is a toolbox. It's just another tool. Of course, it's not going to solve the entire problem of forest fires, but it is another tool to help. And this is why we were awarded a prize for best practices. And like I said, this site info system is based on planning. And we have designed plans for self-protection, and within these plans we identified weaknesses in buildings. The areas that are closer to vegetation, fuel breaks. Here it is a photo of the field work that we do. Digital charts. And we really do a survey, a collection of all the points where water can be accessed. This is information collected by drones in terms of heat. The second pillar has to do with fuel management. To really manage the vegetation and the fuel around houses, to change the model of fuels, to transform the space in a more defendable space. And we really have the construction of breaks after the housing. And we really change the existing vegetation, and we replace them with more resistant species of trees, more resistant to fire. And of course we also design evacuation routes for determined settlements. and they can get this information. It's available in the emergency plan. It's all indicated, the evacuation route and the meeting point in case of evacuation, of course. This is the third pillar of the program, infrastructures. Hydraulic infrastructures here, that it provides a perimeter. We create a wet perimeter with water cannons. With this, we are able to really isolate the settlement, to really create a barrier. And so to really make it difficult for the fire to progress. This is exactly what we just saw in the previous map. We see here that we have a dry area, and this is the area that we have to defend here. It's close to the roads, of course. It has to be anchored by roads. Water deposit, water available, and the precisely the water sprinklers to really provide that wet area and create this water line. And we create this front, and we avoid really disseminated areas of fire. We say that we create rain, we create small water drops, and also we decrease the temperature. And one of the most essential aspects, of course, is education, the fourth pillar. People need to know that they are running a risk when leaving in the interface. We have organized different training courses in the Canary Islands, in the mainland. Training courses for fire extinction also. What we try to convey to owners and to those who live close to forests is that we need to replace improvisation with planning. And we really have to think and consider that people aren't part of the problem, they just have to be part of the solution. And the domestic system, as I said, we adapted the system to different applications. What we saw was the collective system, the collective application. Here we have the domestic application of this system for isolated houses. We install really these kinds of sprinklers which really protect the facade of houses. And we can also add to this, instead of just water, we can add fire retardants. And we also have sprinklers on the roof. And we use a pump that can use a house from a pool or from a well. And we also have the mobile application, the mobile system for firefighters to use on the ground. It's easy to transport. In a small truck you can transport 4 cannons and create defense lines like this. We are now working with different firefighters associations, The idea is to create the first line of wet defense, then a second line of wet defense, and then a third line that has to do with fire extinction. So to increase protection for houses and for the firefighters. We see here a defense line near roads. It has a rain-like effect. Also in the Canary Islands here with these brigades, these fire brigades. And why have we designed this? For self-protection, really, of houses, and for operational teams, for fire brigades when working in the field. They can create a defense line and they can guarantee their own protection, firefighters. We increase mobility because with a pump, this system can be activated. We do not need a fire engine, just with a pump and with a hose, it can work perfectly well. Here, a training course for people who live in the interface. More training. This photo is important because here we have training not just at private level, but with all of the players which really are involved when there is an emergency. We have firefighters, we have Guardia Civil, the National Guard, we have people from the municipality, we have the local police, we have municipal technician, and we also have environmental technicians, so that the emergency response can be a lot faster. This is the objective of these trainings. And more examples of this mobile system working, creating precisely defense lines, so that heat radiation does not reach houses. This is the example we saw previously to really create this line of defense, this perimeter of wet area. Is a big part of the solution is, in fact, prevention. And the areas that are well self-protected and fire-resistant and that are resistant become an opportunity instead of being a threat. And with this, I wish you all the best luck. And as Albert Einstein said, if we always do the same, we can't expect different results. Thank you.
Las preguntas al final.